Welcome to GamerStation's Browser Games of the Week. I'm your host, SnakeYukin Lindsey, and this is the top 10 for this week. At number 10, Mystery of Willow Manor, with 2 N's. You are a detective who is taking on his very last case, and it involves solving a murder at Willow Manor, with 2 N's, I suppose. Now, the game's part of the Game Jam event over at Newgrounds, thus the game had to be made in 72 hours, and they had a handicap involving they had to make the game outside of Flash, which they decided to use hand-drawn drawings. Now, the game itself is a visual novel, which I'm not really the biggest fan of, but it does tell an interesting story if you do get into the game. But to me, the story can feel a little slow, and also it's annoying that when you die, you start from the very beginning. And this game definitely isn't for everyone, but it is worth a look. Number 9, Super Morse Code RPG. This game definitely has to get on our list just for its uniqueness. The game was made for the Game Jam contest that we mentioned prior, and they can only make a game that uses one button, which of course there's been several out there that only use one button for their game. Now they decided to create something unique, and that is, you have to play the game out by only doing Morse code using the spacebar. Now to attack, you would signal A in Morse code, and then signal the number of the enemy you want to attack. Now, it's not the greatest RPG set in World War II out there, but I have to give some spotlight to this game because of its uniqueness. Also, remember, the dots are short and the lines are long, just in case people out there don't know that. Warning, the following game contains images of gore, guts, blood, and lots of violent imagery that some of you may or may not like. Now, if you fall in the category of not liking to see that type of stuff, well, we have an annotation right now that allows you to skip past that game and go to one that has colorful rays and is a puzzle game. So click on it now to skip the violent game. And we're going to assume most people are gone, so let's get a look at that bloody fun game. Number 8, Massive Mayhem 3. Now, if you play the previous game in this series, then you'd likely know what to expect from this game. Now, for those that don't know, you are a random psycho whose goal, more often than not, revolves around causing mayhem and killing tons of people. The more you kill, the more money that you get. Now, this game obviously won't be for everyone, but if you're just wanting to kill a ton of fake people because you had a very stressful day, then here you go! Number 7, Cathode Rays. Now, this is a little interesting game that I will admit everyone won't really like. The point is to make those rays of color get from one triangle to the other. The thing is, when you move the rays, they move at the same time, and they can only touch colors that are the same as them. Now, this can be very annoying, as I found out quite quickly, but I can see something here that others may enjoy if you have the patience for this game. Like me. Number 6, DN8. This is a shooter involving a ship that can get upgrades and evolve throughout the game. Before each level, you can choose which level you want to go to, but depending how far in the game you are, the choice will branch and you'll get a certain upgrade in one level, but not the other. And of course, you can't go back and go to that other level that you didn't go to, unless you happen to fail a level. Now, apparently the enemies that you face in the game will also vary between player to player, I guess depending on what you decide to do or something. So no playthroughs will ever be the same, apparently. Accompanying the game is a great soundtrack as well. We're halfway through the list, and it's time for our classic browser games of the week. And our pick for this week is Trapped Pursuit Escape Series. Now, I remember playing the first 2 in this series back when I was in high school, and I remember enjoying them well and never really being able to pick up the last one because I kept forgetting to play it. Now, one of the titles in this game are different, and thus makes it a little bit confusing on which order you're supposed to play them. All 3 of these games are in a series, though the second one and the third one are the most interconnected, though it does make references to the first one. Now, the story involves a criminal known as Danny McNeil, who is the leader of a gang. The first one puts you in the shoes of a character who is trapped by Danny. or so it seems that way. And the second and third games follows a female detective, and the third one comes directly after the second, so those are the most interconnected between these games. While I enjoyed these games when I was younger, I will admit that this point-and-click game can have several items that are a little annoying to find, or are in places that you really wouldn't click. Also, the ending to this game just feels a little off, but it's still a classic game that's worth taking a look at. Getting back to our list at number 5, Stalwart. Now I will admit, if you compare this as a runner game, and only as a runner game with no music on, this game doesn't quite stand out. It all comes down to scores and controls feel a little weird. But if you have the music on, then it becomes much more of an experience. Now as you run, all the effects and obstacles that come your way are often finely tuned to the great music in the game. Because it does that, everything just seems to blend so well together that I forget about all the other stuff. Though this game would likely be on our top 3 if only the controls didn't feel a little weird. Number 4, Magi: The Fallen World. The world has fallen into disarray, and it's up to you, as always in an RPG, to destroy all the monsters out there. This RPG is an action RPG, meaning you can walk around and fight those monsters and they can somehow hit you even though you're nowhere near them, which always annoyed me. Anyways, you'll be completing quests for the common folks, killing tons of monsters, exploring dungeons, leveling up, buying stuff, and, you know, all that stuff that you expect from RPGs. Besides the annoying get hit though you are nowhere near them problem, there can also be some issues with figuring out if you're strong enough to defeat certain creatures, which are mainly those with the titles. I mean, I was able to defeat all the monsters around it, so I just assumed to be a little more challenging than the rest. I'm wrong. Number 3, Steamlands. It's not often we have a steampunk game on our list. This is considered steampunk, right? You are engineered for a tank that is powered completely by steam, and you must face off against dreaded pirates that also have steam tanks of their own. At the beginning of the stage, you'll be able to add armor, guns, and other items to your tank, as they just happen to be lying around the field whenever you enter it, except for those stages that don't. Now you need to place these items so that you can have the best defense and offense, and have the best advantage against your opponents. You can also, depending on the level, buy upgrades and get some tips on what you'll face next. Number 2, Gemcraft Labyrinth. It's been quite a while since we've had a tower defense game on our list. I think since early this year. Anyways, you are a gem crafter who must make his way through a labyrinth. For the first time in any TD game that I've played since I started doing this list about a year ago, you have the ability to add new platforms to put your towers on. Or actually in this case, it's add towers to put your gems on. Other features that are somewhat new is being able to combine 2 gems together, or the towers in this game, to create a more powerful gem. Create shrines which have special attributes, creating walls, traps, and much more for you to find out. I've kind of grown cynical of most of these type of games, but this one felt a little different to me and I enjoyed playing it, unlike most other tower defense games now. And our number 1 browser game for this week is Soul Brother. I remember hearing about this game some time back. In fact, I remember it so well, I thought I already played this game. The gimmick: you are a spirit that is able to possess the closest living beings to his host after dying, and your goal throughout the game is to be able to collect all 33 of these gems. Now each of these characters have a specific ability, such as one is extremely small, one can double jump, one can hover, and one can push blocks. Now like a good platformer, it provides good controls and has a nice varying amount of difficulty as you go further into the game. And with that, this week's Browser Games of the Week list comes to an end. Now if you don't know, each and every Sunday we have a new video in this series. And also on Wednesdays we have our Gamer Station Indie Game News, which is where we tell you about some of the latest happenings in the indie game world. So subscribe to us to be up to date on all of our videos, and follow us on Twitter and Facebook as well.